Richie Rich style conspicuous consumption had no place in the lives of American Anabaptists. Owning land and paying bills was a basic expectation, but unflaunted wealth was also valued by Mennonites.
Due primarily to my father's mental illness, our family struggled fiscally. My mother sewed little pillows. Eventually she got some kind of license from the state to take care of mentally handicapped people. My father, when he was well, would kind of bounce back and forth between things. From a very small farm, he would sell vacuum cleaners door to door. He did some butchering at his father's butcher shop that he was running. So we did a lot of things to stay afloat. We never went hungry, but the bills were never paid on time. If the phone rang, it was normally a bill collector that was going to shut something off, and my father's mental health was not well, and so he really struggled with dealing with a lot of that stuff.
It's the same thing.
In Canada and the United States, a work week is considered to be 40 hours. In actuality, a typical American works under 35.
Changes happen within the church for pragmatic reasons rather than for hermeneutic reasons, because of someone's understanding of what Scripture is teaching. So a good example of this would have been years ago, a lot of churches would have said there's a beauty of working the soil. It helps keep one close to God and away from temptation. And a woman should be home tending the children. But as the world has changed and the cost of property has escalated, and the need for a two-income home to provide for families, we're seeing men going into accounting and women going into nursing, and this is very acceptable. But it's because of the new world that we live in, rather than because of some new interpretation of Scripture. And pragmatism pushes theology. Pragmatism pushes the congregation to make new choices and to rethink how they interpret Scripture.
Labor was regarded by Mennonites as one of the most natural functions of the human experience. To be a sluggard was shameful and wicked. Idle hands are the devil's playground. Parents didn't spend time and money exploring their children's interests, running them to soccer camps, karate lessons, and dance classes. Other than Sunday, children spent part of their day working.
We helped my father bale hay, butcher, did whatever. I would go with my dad to shear sheep. He would go around the Delmarva Peninsula. The entrepreneurial spirit that helped my parents survive, I learned from them, and it helped me survive as an artist. I quickly learned if I was going to be an artist that I needed to figure out how to shake my moneymaker. So my father's peddling skills taught me how to sell caricatures later at carnivals. It taught me that I needed to find a way to pay my bills and to be responsible. I remember as a small child, many times I'd listen to different story records, Disney stories and so on. I'd put it on the record player and I'd get all my art supplies spread out and I'd start to draw. I'm going to work on this great masterpiece of a Western scene or a tribal warrior. And sometimes those sessions would get shut down because at any moment I knew I could be whisked away to do work in the garden, to work out in the field, to work out in the butcher shop.
The Schwarzentrubers family had a small butcher shop built by his grandfather. They cut and packaged livestock from local farmers, and deer from area hunters. As a child, Don wrapped endless packages of meat, including scrapple. Scrapple was unique to the mid-Atlantic states. It was a Pennsylvania Dutch meat loaf made from hog scraps such as headmeat, skin, heart, liver, tongue, brains, and other assorted parts. The meat and broth are combined with a lot of cornmeal and black pepper. The butcher shop had a billboard at the end of Route 1. Porky Pig slightly resembled the hog illustration on the sign. A cartoon pig was for advertising sausage, not stuttered comical relief. Porky's inclusion bridges pop cultural and the domestication of farm animals.
It's still, even today, it's sometimes difficult to like really kind of settle in, and even on my art, and I think maybe I should be outside working working in the garden or doing such, because we've got property and there are things that need to be done. Even when I'm making art, I will feel guilty because I should be.
The wall was full of atoms. Yes, full of atoms. Especially right under careless little Winky.
American Amish and Mennonites traditionally limited art activity to functional crafts such as quilts.
For being a Mennonite family, my parents were pretty supportive of my art. My dad originally wanted me to do construction work when I turned 16, and I started booking myself to do caricatures at festivals and so on. Eventually I was going up to the Maine, upstate New York, down to Virginia, Kentucky, and I remember one point my dad asked me, financially how I was doing with things, and then when he realized I was doing fine, he was like very supportive of my art. So the church they weren't against it either. They occasionally asked me to do chalk drawings, and I would do a chalk drawing, and the women or girls would sing a song. I did artwork for the church bulletin. These were usually done on like carbon paper. I would draw something and then they would run it.
These were done with carbon paper. This printing technique earned a patent in 1806. It involved a thin sheet of paper coated with dark blue ink, and covered with a sheet of tissue paper. All of the drawings in the Pop-Mennonite collection use this technique. The sheets used were found at the artist's childhood home and date back to the 70s.
I'm just fortunate that I wasn't being told that this was some kind of evil thing to do. Even I was doing cartoons for the newspaper and things, and nobody ever gave me a hard time for any of that.
You know what the Amish are known for? Saving up huge amounts of money. There are Amish that have hundreds of thousands of dollars saved up, millions of dollars saved up, okay? And you say, oh, that's so virtuous, that's so great. Well, I thought the Bible said, lay not up for yourselves treasures upon earth.
Are we involved in people's lives, taking Jesus through service, through faith, through love, through hospitality?
These people, I guess they just serve their own bellies. Because they go out and they plow the earth so they can do what? Feed themselves and their family. Well, great, but is that why you're here? To just eat and live and die like an animal? Or are you actually here to do something spiritual with your life, like win people to Christ?
You taught me the value of hard work. You gave me thrilling rites of passage for the journey to manhood. For example, I knew I was getting close, that is, to manhood, when I could spin the flywheel of Grandpa's old John Deere fast enough to start it.
They're like, oh, we want to be farmers so that we can work with our families and the fathers will be at home with their families. Good principle. I'm not against being a farmer, okay? Good principles taken too far to where you're isolating yourself from the rest of the world.
From Mark Schwartzentruber, I learned that it's okay to receive a wage for work you do, even for Christians. I began to understand that my work was worth something. He insisted one time on paying me $5 for loading hay on a wagon which followed the baler on his farm. Until then, I'd always assumed that any work I did for anyone was just a small repayment for whatever care they gave for me. But Uncle Mark insisted that I take that money.